So when the iPhone 15 got released, there was a fun thing that happened during the event, and that thing was that I found out that most of what was released, the cameras, same pattern didn't change. The dynamic island was still the normally new feature. All the summary screens that Apple often puts when they are starting or they are at the end of a product, everything was the same thing that we've seen from last year's smartphone device, from their last year's iPhone. But the main thing was not actually the core spec, the hardware spec about it. It was actually more for the, let's say, for the software, yeah, more for the software, and there are minor adjustments that they actually made that won't actually reflect on looking at the phone at the first glance. But as you start using the phone, there are some appearance, there are some things you will notice that are actually improved on the smartphone as time goes on. The unboxing experience for the iPhone 15 Pro Max actually, or the iPhone 15 Pro series lineup, actually still remains the same. No much thing there. You get the phone on top, you get the cable. They've tried to swap the black box for now a white one, maybe because of the ink and environment cautions. You get a sticker, your SIM injector too. And note, the cable you now get is not more the lightning cable. You will not get the Type-C USB 3 cable in it. And one of the advantages of this Type-C USB 3 is that it is now what you can use to charge your MacBook, your EarPod, your Mac Air, and whatever Apple products you are using, whatever or other Apple products you are using, which is kind of insane compared to what other smartphone devices do on their own smartphones that does not do like that. But another thing about the cable is that it is actually slow when you are using to charge your iPhone. So, and it's something I also often expect, because you won't expect your original cable to be like your follow-come cable to be what to charge your phone, I would say, the fastest. Buying another one is also help you to charge faster. And then we move to the buttons of the phone. The action button of the phone was a new feature when they swapped out the mute button and then they replaced it with the action button. So when Apple replaced the action button, there were some things I noticed about it. First of all, the position where it was. This is called an action button. It should not be placed somewhere that it will be difficult for you to reach. And that was kind of one of the major problems a lot of people were actually encountered with it. And two, customizing most of the things to your back tap or your power button on your iPhone will be actually much more easier compared to when you now use, I would say, the action button that they put right there. But one thing about the action button is that the moment you start using it and you are able to maneuver the app chip around it, and then you focus on it, adding more shortcuts, then you now find out how important this is. Because the importance of this is not just for, I would say, it's not just for your cameras alone or for your flashlight, but you can actually use this to start recording, to jump straight into your cameras, to actually, I say, to more like pick up a call, cut a call, to connect things together, which is kind of mind blowing, since you are now having like, I think you're now having like 4 buttons on a smartphone, unlike normal smartphones who have just like 2 or 3 on them, right? And the action button is the kind of button that once you use to like jump shift into a feature like your camera, once you're into your camera settings, you can also then use that same action button as your shutter button when you're your camera, or maybe when you're making videos also, which is kind of a much more good advantage. But that one works like mostly for like only the camera applications. Then you come to the call quality. The call quality is not something that a lot of us will really want to expect or experiment on, since call quality does not often change on smartphones devices as it comes up, as it moves up. But the call quality on the iPhone 15 is one that we must actually talk about, because they've actually made this adjustment called voice isolation. So it isolates background noises and make sure that what you are saying is what the person you are talking to will listen, not the background voice. The background voice gets isolated and gets removed due to advanced source. And just for context, take a look at how this sounds when Mr. Woods Boss was experimenting it with his girlfriend.
It sounds terrible.
Yeah, I've got the tap on and it's super loud here.
Okay, so let's try the voice isolation.
Okay, so this is normal mode, and then this the voice isolation mode. And so now you should be hearing it without any noise.
It literally feels like you've turned the tap off.
That's crazy. It's so loud here, I can barely hear myself.
Then we come to performance. You see, the iPhone 15, the 15 and the 15 Pro the 15 Pro Max and the 15 Pro actually use the A17 chip, actually a big upgrade, but the 15 and the 15 Plus just use the normal 16 chip that the iPhone 14 Pro used, which is a slight catch there. But when you start running the benchmark of these things, there are some things to notice. First, the CPU is 10% times more, and the graphics score is 20% times more, which is normal thing you expect because a new chip, you have to be more upgrade. But when you now check this graphics score very well and the CPU, you find out that it is so powerful that it is almost close to that of the M2 chip on the MacBook, which is kind of insane. Finding out that your smartphone is almost having the same power that is on your, let's say, the same power that is on your laptop, which is not something you actually expect. The chip also is what will also give it much more better improved gaming on your smartphone. So with the chip, you can play proper gaming like the Resident Evil Village on your smartphone, and not just to just be able to play it on your smartphone, but you also be able to connect your PlayStation 5 controller to your smartphones to be able to play it, which is kind of mind-blowing and a much more better innovation that Apple is now trying to bring to the smartphones industry. So more like your normal handheld console, like your Nintendo Switch, your ROG Ally, that you have to carry around. Now you can now have everything on your smartphone, including a controller. So it's more like you going around with your Nintendo Switch and your PS5 at the same time, which is mind-blowing, and the next generation of what things like this, or next generation of what our smartphones are able to achieve in just a few times. The design of the iPhone 15 is not something that has changed that much. Still, the same 3 cameras, the same sharp sides, the same boxy design, but it is when you look at it more, you start feeling, then you find that it's actually a upgraded design. Because first of all, it's actually more beautiful since they have replaced it with titanium. It's more comfortable to use since the titanium at the back will actually conduct it out more easily, and it's lighter thanks to the titanium again, which is a much more lighter material to use than the ceramic that they will be using, which makes it more heavy. And still talking about designs, you will notice the bezels of the phone. It has a much more thinner bezel on the phone, though you might not notice this on the first glance where you're looking at it straight up. But the moment you start to compare it with another iPhone like the 14 or the 13, then you will notice that yes, there's actually a bigger upgrade on these bezels of the smartphone, which makes it much more easier and much more better to use. And one of the main subjects a lot of us might want to hear about will actually be the cameras of the smartphone. The cameras of the iPhone 15 Pro Max actually still, so far, I would say one of the best, apart from the best on the entire Samsung on the entire Apple lineup, but probably still the best among the entire smartphone. First of all, this thing still wants on a 24 megapixel camera. It's still 24 megapixel, and the reason why the camera is good is not just because of the ultra wide or the lens coating, which makes more like travel inside. Not that, it's actually what it actually does. Since it comes with a 24 megapixel camera, Samsung comes with over 200 megapixel camera, which is insane thinking of what this will happen. But the 24 megapixel on an iPhone, on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, stays there by default. And one reason it's actually a better upgrade is that once you take a picture with this, it gives you the direct picture and with no compromise on it. And once it comes to storage, since the resolutions of cameras are getting increased, so the more you take pictures, the heavier they become. The Apple's HEIF will make it much more lighter, and since the resolution of the phone has gone more by around 2%, this HGIF makes it just increase it by around 1.5 times more. So make sure that your image is still much more stabilized and much more better. And the portrait mode of the iPhone 15 is actually one that is very, very innovative, because the portrait mode on the iPhone 15 is one that once you have taken a picture with it, you can actually still tweak it and still manipulate what you actually want to be the focus on it. So you can take a picture of something and then switch the focus from what is in your phone to what is by the side, which is something a lot of phones don't have. Is that keep on a lot of phones don't have most of what Apple uses. That's why since they Apple so far stated well. Then when it comes to battery, Apple did not mention anything about battery in the last event because I don't know why. Because when the 14 came out, a lot of people were complaining that the battery on the 14 was not that good, but it was good, but not that good compared to what they were expecting. I would say maybe that is due to the iPhone, to the iOS 17 beta, which actually consumed a lot of power, and more so the more you use your phone, the more the cells tend to deteriorate. So that would be a much more things. But I'm very very sure that the battery on the 15 will be much more better than that of the 14. So a battery test will be coming. I'll be dropping a battery test. I don't know how soon, but very soon, to give an update on how everything will go about the phone. Then for the charging speed, Apple also did not mention anything about charging speed. But as I mentioned earlier, if you'll be using your normal Type-C USB 3 cable that will come in box with the iPhone 15, you will not actually be getting the actual speed you'll be expecting for something like that. So subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.